Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Reptile Encounters Wild live stream. My name's Tia and I'm a wildlife ambassador here at Reptile Encounters. Before we get a start today, I might take this chance to let you guys know a little bit about the amazing stuff that's happening here at Reptile Encounters at the very moment. So now our school incursions, we are offering them as wild live streams, which means your students get to be engaged, inspired, and interactive with some of our most amazing Australian native animals from home, which is pretty special. So not only do we get to do that, but we are also now offering gift vouchers to sponsor some of those amazing animals you're going to be seeing in our classroom work. So when it's safe to do so and when things start to get back to normal, you will actually be able to visit the animals that you are sponsoring. And trust me, they are really, really special. Now, teachers, if you want to know a little bit more about these wild live streams that we are offering your students, please tune in to our free webinar that's happening this Thursday at 4 p.m. and we will post the link in the comments below. Okay, now, for people that are just joining on, I'm going to reintroduce myself. My name's Tia, I'm from Reptile Encounters, and I've been passionate about nature and its conservation for my whole entire life. Today, in this morning's live stream, we are going to be doing another animal spotlight, and we are going to be shining that light on a type of animal that Australia is quite famous for. This animal is covered in scales, which makes it a reptile. It's part of the same order as lizards share, but unlike lizards, they don't have arms and they don't have legs. So for those of you following along at home, I'm sure you can guess we are about to meet some scaly, slithery snakes. Alrighty, the snakes we are going to meet today are in fact pythons, and here in Australia we're a little bit of a paradise for pythons. So almost half the world's species of pythons are actually found right here in Australia, and I think we are so lucky for that. Now here in Victoria we have 2 species of pythons, but most of them are actually found up north in the more warmer tropical climate. And at the very start of this year I actually had the chance to go up to Queensland and see some of these amazing python species and some other species of snake in real life. And for someone that teaches about these amazing animals, is in classrooms talking about them every day, this was the most phenomenal experience. My heart was beating out of my chest and I was smiling from ear to ear. It was amazing. And I get to teach you about them right now. So the type of pythons we're going to be spotlighting today are quite interesting. They're a primitive form of python, and there's actually no other pythons like them in Australia. But before I do get them out, I do want to run through a few really, really important things.
Before you do that, we have some hellos from
yes.
Olivia and Darcy.
Oh, Olivia and Darcy, they're my cousins. Hi guys, thanks for watching.
And Bailey and Cooper too.
Hi,
they love
Bailey
pythons.
Oh my gosh, you love pythons? I hope you love them as much as me, because we're about to have heaps and heaps of fun. Thank you so much for tuning on, guys, and sharing this fun time with me. Alrighty, now, pythons. They do not have venom and they don't have fangs. If you are respectful to them, they are a completely harmless animal. Now, as I was saying before, we have 2 pythons down in Victoria, but majority of the snakes that we have here are in fact venomous, and they can be quite dangerous as well. And I'm not trying to scare you guys, I just want you to be nice and safe. If you do encounter a snake in the bush, in your backyard, in your kindy, in your school, it's really important we do some things. We do not poke it with a stick. We do not step on it and hurt it. We don't pick it up and give it a cuddle, even if it looks like the cutest, most cuddliest snake ever, okay? All we need to do is leave them alone. You take a deep breath, stay nice and calm and still, and walk away. And that's all you need to do. Snakes don't want to eat you, they don't want to bite you, they don't want to chase you, they just want to go along their own business. And if we leave them to do that, we can live harmoniously with these amazing animals, which are actually really important for a healthy ecosystem. If you are a young one, if you're a kid and you see a snake, make sure you tell a grown-up. But if you are a grown-up, make sure you don't try and hurt or remove that snake by yourself. It's really important we call your local snake catcher, a professional, to do that for you. All right, Now that we've got some safety out of the way, because we are going to be nice and safe today, we are going to be meeting our pythons and back to this really interesting, unique group of animals I was talking about before. There is only 2 species of python in this genus, Aspedites, and we're going to meet both of them today, which is super, super cool. We are going to start with a python that lives in the middle of Australia, in places that are hot, dry, don't get much rain. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of some time whilst I'm getting them out to think about the habitat I might be talking about. There's lots of red sand in these places too. All right. Okay, so here is Tammy. I'm just going to get her out for you slowly and unravel my little noodle here. All right, check her out. She is absolutely beautiful. Tammy is a Woma python and she's specially designed for living in the desert. So for those of you that guessed desert, you were absolutely correct. So I said before she's from the genus Aspedites, and this actually means shield bearer. So what I'm going to do is get you to zoom in on her head. Can we see those big flat scales on the top of her head there? So that kind of is like a little shield. And this is actually leads me to know a little bit about her behavior in this sandy desert environment. Sometimes people call her a sand python as well, or a sand snake. And she does spend most of her time in and amongst this sand. Being in those really hot, warm, arid environments, she prefers to come out at nighttime. She is a nocturnal animal, so that she avoids that blistering hot sun from the middle of the day. Now, during the day, she will shelter in burrows made by other animals such as rabbits, but if there are no rabbit burrows around, she uses that shield-like head with those hard scales actually as a shovel. She uses her head like a shovel. I've seen Woma pythons do this before and it's really hilarious. She's kind of like, She's trying to push the sand out of the way and make a nice little burrow for her to shelter in during the day. Now, when she is coming out at night, she's usually looking for food. And the way she hunts is actually what makes her quite different from other pythons as well. Aspedites snakes, like our Woma python, they actually are lacking something that most other pythons have, and that is those visible heat sensing pits. Now, usually along that mouth part there, along that jaw, there are these little windows, and they are heat sensing pits. So usually they can tell if their prey is warm or cold blooded. Now, they don't really have this adaptation. They do have one little heat sensing pit on the inside of their mouth. It's just kind of behind their little nose over there. So they can do it a little bit, but not as much as some of our other carpet pythons. Now, this is because they live in the desert. So if one of their prey items, such as a lizard, is sitting up on a rock, that lizard's going to be the same temperature as the rock. So the rock's going to look really hot to them, and so is the lizard. So they might go and slam their nose straight into the rock, which would be really, really silly. So they use lots of other senses to actually find their prey, such as sight and also smell. I'm going to see if we can get her to poke her little tongue out at us. Is she going to give us a little tongue poke? Not yet. Let's have a look. Ah, there we go. Who can spot the fork in her tongue? Her tongue has 2 tips to it. She has a forked tongue, and this means she has a really good sense of smell because she can pick up scents on either side of that tongue. She can smell left and right to know where her prey is in fact coming from, which is really, really cool. Now, something that sets these guys apart from other pythons as well is the type of prey they like to eat. And they mostly like to feed on reptiles, which is super weird, including snakes, maybe even a baby snake of the same species, as well as venomous snakes. Okay, so that is pretty interesting and pretty amazing. They will also take birds and mammals as well. Often they will actually hunt in the burrows that they either dig or inhabit from those mammals, and it's quite tight and pokey in those little burrows. So what they actually will do is use their thick, muscly body just say if a little rodent is running through those burrows, what they'll do, they'll strike, grab on, and they'll use that thick body to squish. They'll make a little loop with their body, squish that prey into the side of the burrow, and that actually helps to stop them from moving. They're trying to sort of stop that blood supply, squish them into the side so then they can eat them. That seems a little bit violent, but everybody's got to eat. Now, these guys are pythons, which means that they are constrictors. They don't stop their prey from moving with venom. So that's why they have to use all those tricky little techniques like constriction and squishing to stop their prey from moving. They have around 80 teeth. They are like little pins. They're backwards facing and really sharp. So what they will do, they will sit and wait. They're ambush predators. And when they do find prey coming through, they will strike, grab on with those backwards facing teeth so they can't move. And that's when they start to either constrict or squish. And that's one of the ways that they can actually catch their prey. Now, I've got a little distribution map behind me here. I'm going to pop her on my neck whilst I'm showing you where she can be found. Like I said before, she's from dry, arid regions, and she always has and always will live on Aboriginal soil. She's a really important animal to the Anangu people around Uluru, so the Aboriginal people in Central Australia. So I'm going to go to my little chalk distribution map here. Do you want to point to where you're from, darling? Right in the middle there. They found all the way through the center over here, and there is a little patch in southern Western Australia too, and in that patch they are actually on the brink of extinction, which is really sad because this is such an interesting and amazing little python. This is due to habitat clearing, but also the fact that there are a lot of introduced animals that have found themselves in Australia. So after European settlement, people brought along things like cats, foxes, goats, rabbits. We just said that these guys have a pretty good relationship with rabbits. They use those burrows to shelter in, but cats and foxes actually feed on the prey that they like to eat. So there's not as much food around for these guys. There's not as much habitat anymore, and we are in fact losing them, which is pretty devastating, I think. There we go, she's poking her tongue out again, and as we just found out, she's not being rude. She is just trying to smell the camera and probably identify it looks nothing like food. Alrighty, shall we meet my Woma python's very close cousin from the Aspedites group?
Yes, we should.
All right, I think we should. So going on from scientific names, this is Aspedites ramsey, and we are about to meet Aspedites melanocephalus. So what that actually means, melano means black. And when I get out my black-headed python, I'm going to get you guys to try and guess what melanocephalus, the cephalus part of the Greek and Latin name, actually means, all right? So get your thinking caps on, put them on for me, and I'm gonna pop Tammy, my Woma python, back in. Whilst I'm putting her back in, guys, please post me some comments on all your questions, all things snake and python. All right, let's go back in here, because I would love to answer them.
While you're doing that, Olivia would like to know why snakes shed their skin.
Ooh, Olivia. Thanks, Olivia. That is a really, really good question. So, snakes shed their skin when they are growing. So their skin isn't as flexible and stretchy as our skin, even though we also lose our skin too. And when these snakes are actually growing, when that skin gets too tight, they will actually shed it off all in one little sleeve. So once they're full grown, they do this not as often as when they're growing from a juvenile snake into a big one, but we usually see our snakes shedding after they've had a really big fat meal. Now, I didn't actually tell you guys before, but snakes swallow their food whole. So this means that stretchy skin, that food source will be going through the body and it'll stretch its body really big and then come out right at the other end. And that stretching action causes that skin to stretch and remove itself from the bottom layer, and then it sheds it off. So snakes will actually produce kind of like a moisturizer, an oil underneath their scales to help them slither out of that shed skin. And when my snake sheds at home, I say, oh my gosh, you got your new pajamas on. Thanks,
Awesome.
Olivia, that was really cool. Alright.
Cool. So we have Coco saying that they have a black-headed python called Peanut, which I think is a fantastic name.
I think that is the best name ever.
Absolutely. And I think that Lisa is saying that they have a bearded dragon called Peanut too.
Oh, a bearded dragon called Peanut. Oh my gosh. I have a soft spot for bearded dragons. I had one for like over 10 years. His name was Rex, but Peanut's really cute. Alright, let's meet Melanie. Come out, lovely. She's one of our new snakes at Reptile Encounters, and oh, she's a little bit heavier than Tammy. Wow, check her out. She is absolutely gorgeous. I think it might be time for a snake scarf. Might be able to hold her a little bit better. Let's look at why she is called a black-headed python. Has anybody guessed what melanocephalus means? Melana means black.
No, we have not had any answers just of yet.
Not just yet.
Go ahead and tell
All right,
them.
I'm going to tell you guys. It means blackhead. So scientists didn't get very creative, and it is very, very obvious why they get this name. Now, our black-headed pythons are really closely related to our Woma pythons, and they do have quite similar biology. The black-headed pythons can get a little bit bigger, so they can get to almost 3 meters, and our Woma pythons just over 2. Hello, darling. Look at that. She giving us a smile?
She sure is.
Oh, that is amazing.
Good job.
She is found in slightly different habitats, so although she is really well adapted to living in those arid regions, so those nice dry grasslands, she also live in eucalyptus forests as well as rainforests. And this tells me a little bit that she is found up the northern third of Australia, so all through Queensland, up across the NT and into Western Australia as well. So she's a bit more of a northern species, and she will favour sort of rocky environments. This gives her a really nice heat mat to warm up on. Snakes, they are ectothermic, they're cold-blooded, and they get their energy from the surrounding environment. Their body temperature on the inside is the exact same as their body temperature, of the surrounding outside temperature. So if they need to get energy, they need to warm up. And if they want to cool down, they have to go into the shade or somewhere where it's nice and cool. So these rocky environments, they give them lots of little crevices and places to hide in and stay nice and safe from predators when they're little. When they're really big, they don't have too many other predators. But also, their food lives on these rocky areas too. And as I was saying before, these weird Aspedites pythons love eating reptiles, and reptiles love rocks because they can warm up on them. So it's a nice place for these guys to have a shelter and a feeding ground as well. If they are in a little burrow or under a little rock crevice and it gets a little bit chilly, what they'll actually do is poke that head out, and black actually absorbs heat. It attracts warmth. So having that little black head out there, it actually heats up the whole snake's body, which is really, really cool. And then they don't have to be out in the open and therefore in danger of being predated upon, because they just have that little black head out and they can thermoregulate that way, which is really cool. Now, speaking of prey, these guys can do something really, really interesting. Now, I'm not sure, this is a bit of a tricky science word for you guys, but I'm going to hit you with it anyway. So it's called caudal luring. And I'm going to show you my black-headed's tiny little tail. Where are we, Melanie? Here we go. Now, with snakes have really long bodies and short tails, and lizards have really long tails and short bodies, so you can actually see that's her tail just there. The rest is all body. This tail, caudal luring, what that means, if there isn't any prey around and she needs a little bit of help, she will actually wriggle that tail like a little worm or a little insect, and she's actually hoping that she can attract prey to herself without her having to go out and find it, which is really cool. Once that prey gets into striking distance, she'll coil her neck up in an S shape and shoot it out with that amazing muscular power and take down her prey. These guys have around 220 stomach muscles. They don't have arms and legs to move around, so they need to use that amazing muscular body. When these guys are living in those really hot desert environments, if they do need to come out during the day when it is really, really hot, they will actually almost skip across the hot sand. So I know the warmer pythons definitely do this because they are more likely found in those desert environments. They're always found on the floor. They are terrestrial. They don't really climb. They're a bit of a heavy python species for climbing. These guys can get up to like 16 kilograms. When they are moving along hot soil, they will actually make a little S shape with their body, and that coil, they'll use it as a little spring to jump across the sand. So not much of that underside is actually touching that really hot sand, and they don't get burnt. So these guys are full of interesting adaptations.
That's awesome. And so these guys, we have a question from Kelly. Do these guys lay eggs, or are they live bearing?
They absolutely lay eggs. So pythons always lay eggs, and these guys can lay almost up to 20 eggs in a clutch, which is really cool. They'll take just over 2 months to hatch, and the female will actually coil around her eggs to protect them. And what she'll actually do, she's not like a chicken. She doesn't have a nice little warm body to sit on her eggs. So what she actually might do is leave her little burrow or her little rocky cave. She'll go out, do a little sunbake, warm her body temperature up, and then go back to the eggs, coil around them. If her body temperature drops, she'll actually start to shiver. So if you guys do a little trick with me at home, rub your hands together. You will notice when you rub your hands together, it gets quite warm. So what she's doing with her body, by shivering her body and rubbing it together, it causes friction, and then she can actually incubate her eggs to the perfect temperature. So they're quite good mums, but after they hatch, it's each to their own. And it'll only take a couple of weeks for these guys to be feeding as babies by themselves, which is really, really cool.
That brings us on to another question from Cara. What do you feed them at Reptile Encounters?
Oh, such a good question. So we have this gross meat fridge where there are so many different types of meat in it, but whether it be quail, chicken, roux meat, rats, mice, what else am I missing?
Rabbits.
Rabbits! Oh my gosh, these guys love rabbits. So they have a really good mutually beneficial relationship with rabbits in the wild and at Reptile Encounters too. And they are really amazing feeders, and the reason why they can fit such large prey, so you wouldn't think that a black-headed like this would eat a rat or a rabbit that's about this big. Alrighty. Now what they can actually do to fit prey inside their mouths whole, remember they swallow it whole, is that they actually have very stretchy skin on their jaws, and what they do is disarticulate their bones in 4 places in their jaws. So they'll go, you sit on my shoulder for a second, lovely. They'll go pop, 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 pop. The bones come apart. They'll open their mouth really big, swallow their food whole, and after they are finished eating, they'll do a really big yawn to put their bones back together, which is super wild and super amazing.
So we have a really good question that might lead us onto another really cool example that we're going to show.
Yes.
Rosita wants to know if we have any Victorian carpet pythons.
No way. You, Rosita, must be reading my mind, because we absolutely do, and I'm actually going to show you one right now. Is that okay? Alrighty. Let me pop my black-headed beautiful python back now. I'm going to give you guys a little quiz. Who can pop in the comments what genus of python my Woma and my black-headed python were? Tricky question, but we got to learn here today. All right, let's pop her back in her black bag. We've got to color coordinate, obviously, here at Reptile Encounters. Now, these little sleeping bag pillowcases, it's not bad for them. They can still breathe. They're still nice and comfy. And when we are transporting them, they feel nice and safe when their eyes are covered. So I'm going to pop her away.
While you're doing that, if you can, answer this question for Hope, who's here with us today.
Hello, Hope.
How big are their eggs, and how big are they when they're born?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. So I am going to show you a little gesture with my hands, okay? So I don't know in exact centimeters. All right, let's pop you over here. I'm going to pop you back in. All right, so eggs would be roughly around that big, and babies would be around this big. Does that give you a little bit of an example? Awesome stuff. Sorry, I don't have the exact centimeters for you today, but we can post that in the comments for you because it'd be good to know the exact. We like exact statistics. Thank you for that really good question, Hope.
Awesome.
All right, Rosita, are you ready to meet a carpet python that I think all of us have a really special love for here at Reptile Encounters? I don't know if it's biased that we live here in Victoria, but it's a really good example as well of how our pythons vary and are really different in their biological structures too. So that's pretty cool. Now, you are extremely lucky to be meeting Victor today. As I said at the very start, he is one of 2 pythons that we have here in Australia. He's a Victorian carpet python or a Murray darling carpet python, and he absolutely is a darling. Look at that gorgeous pattern on his body. Now, they are called carpet pythons because of that really ornate, amazing pattern on their body, but they don't use it to camouflage with carpet. Obviously, they're not found in your lounge room. They are actually found in our eucalyptus forests, and they have that grey sort of tessellated pattern on their body to blend in with leaf litter, dirt, sticks and stones that fall onto the forest floor. And these guys are found along the Murray River in the northern parts of Australia. So unfortunately not quite down here in Melbourne. So we've got our little map here, little northern part of Victoria, and they're also found all through the Murray-Darling Basin, so all up in this section as well. Now, we do have another species of python here in Victoria, that is our diamond python, and they are found in Mallacoota. Now, I don't know if that name rings a bell to any of you, but that area was really badly affected by the bushfires that year, and we don't actually have enough evidence right now. We haven't been able to spot those diamond pythons just yet, so we're not sure how badly they were affected by the bushfires. So I'm really hoping that we still do have those 2 python species here in Victoria. Now, Victorian carpet pythons, there is less. This is a really big, important statistic. There is less than 200 of these guys left in the wild. And this is due to habitat destruction or fragmentation. Their habitat's kind of been split up into little sections and opened up by land clearing and farmland. And these guys don't like to come out in the middle of those big open grassy areas because obviously they are susceptible to predators, but also to people thinking they are a venomous snake and purposely hurting them, which is really, really sad. Now, unlike our Woma and black-headed pythons, most pythons prefer to eat warm-blooded prey. Okay, just like Victor here, he would love to snack on some mice and rats, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't really want rats and mice living in my kitchen, pooping in my pantry, making me sick, giving me diseases. And this is one of the reasons why snakes are really important for our environment. They eat those mice and rats, they keep our environment clean, and they stop the spread of disease. Now, how they find that warm-blooded prey is one of the reasons why they're different from our Aspedites, and this is a really amazing example. Can we see the little windows along that
We might
head there?
go around there for you, Victor. There we go.
Can we see the little holes, the little windows
We can.
on the sides of his mouth? They are his heat sensing pits, and why he has this acute way of locating that warm-blooded prey. They don't have ears, so they can't really hear them, but they're really sensitive to vibrations and they can pick up where their prey lives, which is pretty awesome. You can also see the shape of his head. It's nice and triangular and bulbous just on the corners here. He is a bit of an old boy, so we can see how that shape differs from our other snakes that we've met today. Now, I know a lot of our venomous snakes might have that narrow head as well, but not all of them. So it's not safe to say, where are you going? It's not safe to say that all snakes that have that diamond triangular shaped head are safe, and that doesn't mean that we should go picking them up. We should treat all snakes as with caution and always leave them alone to do their amazing job at keeping our ecosystems nice and healthy. Now these guys, I said they live on the forest floor. They're also really good at climbing. Do you guys want to see Victor's little trick? Yeah. All right, because if they can't find mice and rats on the floor, they will use fallen gum and branches as ladders to actually get up into the trees. They also shelter in this fallen gum, so it's really, really important that that habitat stays the way it is. So I'm gonna pop him up here. We'll see if he's gonna be a lazy snake. Are you gonna do a big sit-up? Whoa! Oh my gosh, Victor, that was perfect form. See, you don't need a gym if you are a carpet python, because you can climb up over your very own body, just like he's pretending I'm a little tree here, and he can do a really, really big sit-up, which is super cool. Alrighty. Now, do we have any last comments, any snake queries for me before I pop Mr. Victor away?
So we have an awesome comment from Chloe, who says there's a small population of native diamond pythons in North Victoria, not far from where she lives.
Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. Thank you so much for giving me that information. That is really awesome to know. I love that. So special.
Very special. All right, cool.
Alrighty, well, I might pop Mr. Victor away now. He's had a nice little climb on me, pretending I'm a little tree. I hope you've learnt a few more things about pythons today, and we have lots of different python species here at Reptile Encounters, so stay tuned. We will be doing some more python species spotlights as we go along. Make sure you're tuning in. Where are you going? Oh my gosh. Make sure you guys are tuning in at 2 p.m. We will be doing a behind the scenes encounter, and we will give you another exciting snippet into the life of us at Reptile Encounters. But for now, goodbye from me and Victor. I hope you had a little bit of fun. Thanks for having me. See you next time.